Facebook is spinning still. Oh, there it is. So I'm hitting the go live button now. You ready? Let me know when you're ready for me to hit it.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Welcome to Lovelogical, DNA Not Required. This is Michelle L. Anderson, coming to you live from PodcastDetroit, Royal Oak Studios. We are looking forward to intriguing and entertaining you every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Let me start today's show by saying thank you for joining our family, which is biological by nature, lovelogical by choice, DNA not required. Good evening, everyone. This is Michelle L. Anderson coming to you here tonight live. I am here with my co-host, Delon Kennedy, tonight. Delon is my son. Say hello, Delon.
Hello, everybody.
And I am here with Ally Learning Center out of Livonia, Michigan. I have a treat for you guys because we have dynamic guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you just a brief little bit about them.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Michelle, for having us on your podcast show. My name is Hamad Ali, and I'm the founder and executive director of Ally Learning. So Ally Learning is a tutoring company that provides one-on-one tutoring for students from kindergarten all the way to college. And the company is basically a product of my passion for youth mentorship, as well as combined with my formal education in psychology and medical sciences, as well as professional training and education.
Okay, so basically he said, I'm smart. I'm really smart. And yes, I'm smart. So
Got it. In a nutshell.
Okay, Andre, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Andre Haj, and I am the Director of Outreach for Ally Learning. So I've been with Ally since January of 2017, and my path to sort of working in education was kind of very long and roundabout, and it sort of spanned a couple of continents. I actually worked in overseas after graduating from college in 2015, and my degree was actually in international relations, so it's a big surprise to me that I'm working in the field that I'm working in. But one of the things that kept coming up sort of in the different fields that I was in was education seeming to be the biggest determining factor in people's lives in terms of what kind of outcome they were going to, have with their lives, regardless of whatever circumstances they were born in. And so it seemed to me that that was what I needed to get involved in if I wanted to make the biggest difference in people's lives. And that's what led me here.
Okay. So again, we heard I'm smart, and I'm smart too. So these guys are absolutely great. I want to share why they're my first Lovelogical business and how I came about meeting both of our wonderful guests here. And I'm nervous tonight for some reason. This is my second podcast, and I have been in interviews today, so I don't know why I'm nervous. So excuse me, guys, for being nervous.
No problem.
But I went to a networking event, and Andre and I have a mutual friend. Her name is Andy. Mm-hmm. And Andy kept saying, you have to meet Andre. You have to meet Andre. So, of course, Andy is one of those people to where she's going to find a way to link businesses together for the benefit of all of the businesses in that chain. Okay? Mm-hmm. So she was determined to link me and Andre together, and we met and we talked and found out that, yes, we do have a lot in common. We want children to be educated, and then we set up a meeting for me to go over to see Ally Learning Center, and I was impressed. It was very nice. And then this young, handsome man comes in. And
I'm blushing.
Making me nervous now.
And I said, okay. I said, this is a really nice place. And then Mr. Ali comes in, and we get to talking, and I was talking about, the fact that I had worked as a systems cost engineer at FCA and what department I was in. And he says, oh, my dad works there. And I asked him who his dad, is. And he told me, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, I know about you. And his father had talked for almost a year that the two of us should get together, and we hadn't had a chance to schedule a meeting. And here it is. That meeting happened on its own without any intervention from his dad at all.
Yeah, that was crazy. Because I'm just like, oh yeah, do you know my dad? And then as soon as I said his name, you're like, I know you guys.
I jumped
and you
up,
jumped on me.
I gave him a big
And
hug.
Andre was just like, what's going on?
Why is she hugging him?
I was like, what did I miss?
I am a hugger. I'm definitely a hugger. So it was just amazing that here it is, this young man, whose father had bragged about him so proudly. And, his son, he was saying, my son, he works with foster kids and he works within, the nonprofit arena. And he's just explaining all of this. And I'm like, wow, okay. So, and here it is, just out of the blue, without, like I said, any intervention at all from his dad. We actually ended up in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, definitely fate.
Yes.
that is
meant to happen.
Definitely fate. I want to say hello to those who are watching. Hello, Michonne, Calvin, Ruth, Marshall, Cynthia, Robert, and let's see, Cynthia. And so thank you guys for joining me this evening. I appreciate you coming on live, and I'm hoping that you have a better sound than what you had last week. So, but I just thought that was so interesting that we would meet. So as we're talking, one of the things with Ally that makes me feel as if they're different than your normal tutoring facilities is they tutor children who have been adopted out of foster care. That's their primary niche.
Correct. Correct.
And I think that is so cool. But they don't just tutor these children. They mentor them as well. So they have a relationship with their clients inside as well as outside
That's a
of the
beautiful
facility.
Yeah.
And I personally had never really heard that before. I know that there's tutoring, companies that do kind of mentor, but it's right there within the facility, and you're really digging down into getting to know these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely one of the biggest things that sets us apart from other tutoring companies is that mentor-based approach. So when they come to us, what we always say is that there is no kind of standard Ally learning experience. Every experience is going to be completely tailored and therefore completely different depending on the particular needs of each student. They're going to come into us and we're going to basically build a custom program around them. Some kids come to us and they just need help with their homework, and that's fine. Some kids need a little bit of work on this or that particular subject. Maybe it's times tables. Maybe it's, they just don't quite get, maybe they're having a lot of trouble with reading comprehension, depending on what grade they're in. But for a lot of kids as well, there's what you might call supplemental skills. So that's organization. That's habits. What does their daily schedule look like? What does their backpack look like? I can't tell you how many students come to us and
Don't have a backpack?
don't have a backpack,
Oh, wow.
or they're using some kind of crazy tote bag as their backpack, or their backpack looks like someone lit a grenade inside of it, and we have to just try to put everything back where it's supposed to be. There's papers from last year in the backpack, and so then the challenge. For that child, right? And I'm going to go out on a limb here. If that's the situation, they're probably not getting their homework turned in, right? Because I have a particular student in my mind, right, that this applies to. So in that case, right, the comprehension isn't so much the issue. The issue is their organizational skills. So they should be able to, if they're going to come to us, we want to be able to help them with that in addition to whatever sort of, subject matter help that they need in their classes.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to add on to it, so Basically, like how Ally Learning started working with adopted foster care students. So I was in medical school, and I was taking a break when I was working on my master's, and I started teaching. I was placed in different schools, anywhere from elementary all the way to high school, and where I was teaching like STEM related courses, which is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And there was one family where they had 4 kids, and actually I was working with 3 of those students because they were like a year apart, so I was actually teaching each of them in their separate classrooms. And they went to their parents, and they were just like, oh, you know what, this teacher came in, and he's helping us learn a lot more, so we want to work with him outside of school. So the parent actually contacted me and said, hey, would you mind tutoring my children? They're struggling in the various subjects, and they seem to like grasp the information better when you're working with them. And I said, sure, that's fine, no big deal. I can do that after school. I started working with these 4 kids. Later on, I found out that these children were adopted. And she actually contacted the state of Michigan on my behalf and told them about what I was doing and the impact that I was making on her children. Slowly, other adoption families with adopted students, Lovelogical families, they approached me and asked me if I could work with their students. That's when the state of Michigan came forward and said, you know what, you're doing a great job. If you start a company, then we can actually make you a vendor. And so it's back in 2014 is when I started this. In 2015, Ally Learning became official, and we started providing free tutoring for adopted students throughout the state of Michigan. And this is 5 hours of free tutoring per week, year-round.
Can you hear that?
And what I learned was that a lot of these kids, they were just saying, "Oh, I'm not smart enough," or I can't do it, right? But the fact of the matter is that they were able to do it. But there was some underlying effect that was hindering them from reaching their full potential. And that's where mentoring played a large role, because a lot of these children, they come from troubled backgrounds. They're dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of emotional stress, a lot of psychological stress that plays an impact. If they can't be a normal kid at home, then you can't expect them to do well in school either, right?
That makes sense.
So what I decided to do was that, okay, the tutors that we're bringing in, I didn't want them just to be tutors. I wanted them to be mentors and tutors at the same time. By doing this, the kids, when they're coming to the tutoring center, they're not thinking that, oh, I'm coming to a place where, because I'm not smart enough, I'm coming to a place that they're just going to teach me. These kids are actually excited to come, and they actually want to stay. When the parents come and pick them up after an hour or an hour and a half, they're just like, no, we don't want to go, because they're actually having a good time with their tutor/mentor. And what Andre and I learned was that by creating this mentorship relationship, the kids, they actually want to kind of like do better to please their mentor, right? Because it's like a big brother, big sister relationship. And it seemed to work. And these kids that had for years had C's and D's or F's for years, all of a sudden within a semester or 2 semesters, they're going up to A's and B's.
Wow.
Wow.
And and then we kind of grew. Ever since then, we've been expanding, and I think to date we've worked with over 130 adopted students.
That's amazing.
And we opened it up to the public as well. So now we see private clients as well as adopted and foster care children.
Yeah, and for those, and just to kind of add on to that, so there's not like a separation in terms of like what services are provided to adopted versus what are provided to paid clients. It's the same exact service that they're getting. It's the same exact method, same exact approach that we're taking. But to his point about mentoring, I'm sure every parent can maybe attest to this, where you say something to your kids, okay, you can say it to them however many millions of times you want, and then someone else will say that same exact thing, and all of a sudden the light will go off in their brain, and they'll be like, oh, I don't know what you call that, but I know it happened to me. I know. Like my mom would tell me my parents would be telling me all kinds of things that were very, very useful and would have been great for me to have learned and internalized when I was, growing up. But when I heard it from somebody else, then it became, oh, this is actually real. It's not just mom and dad, getting on my case or whatever. So it's, they say that saying, like, it takes a village, right? Like,
it takes a village.
It takes a village.
That is a great quote.
Because there is a huge role to be played for non-parental role models.
Correct.
And that can be coaches, that can be, different, teachers, certainly. Why not? Why couldn't it be like a tutor whose entire, function being there is to spend quality one-on-one time with your child?
That's amazing.
Because oftentimes mentors become tutors.
Yep. They do.
So it's in your situation, it's tutors also becoming mentors. So it's just a flip, because I have actually tutored some of the children that I've mentored through the years. And that's one of the reasons why I chose you as my first Lovelogical business, because I know your hearts when it comes to the kids, and the fact that you started your business the way that it started, to me, says that it was meant to be, because here it is, someone, you stepped into her life and she opened up a door for you by making that phone call. You weren't even thinking of heading in that direction, were you?
I had no plan of starting a business. My plan was to finish medical school, and like you said, this door just opened up for me. I've always had a passion for education. I love teaching. I was tutoring, when I was in high school. I was a TA while I was a teacher's assistant when I was in college. In medical school, I was teaching some courses, but I never thought of the possibility of opening up a business and actually working with students on a daily basis.
Okay.
So, like you said, I think if it just worked out the way it did, right? I didn't know that they were adopted. I didn't know that she was going to call on my behalf, and I wasn't expecting to actually open something up. And like you said, my passion. If you're passionate about something, then it all works out in the end.
It works itself out.
Everything falls into place.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think, like, Andre and I, we've created like these like Lovelogical families with all our clients. We're very close with everyone.
Yes.
We go to people's houses on Christmas and Thanksgiving, and they come to our house. And it's like a big family.
It is.
And
It
these
is a
kids
family.
when they're growing up, because we work with the same kids all throughout the year, year after year, and you can see them change and progress into becoming like young adults, and it makes you so happy that here was a child who had no hope for themselves, and even the family was starting to give up on them. But because we worked with them, plus with the families, and we changed the mindset on how to make this child successful, they all were hopeful, and in the end, it made a difference for the child.
That term Lovelogical.
Yes.
When you really that first meeting we had, when you really kind of broke it down and explained like what it means, that love does not necessarily have to have any relationship with your biological relationship with that person, to kind of, I guess, make it sort of academic and intellectual, but that feeling, that emotion that's associated with that, I mean, that just totally it syncs up with what we're doing, because it is, I mean, we work with a lot of families that are giving their real love to these children that they didn't actually birth themselves, but the idea that should make a difference, but it does make a difference, like, because schools will, in their lives, right, they're gonna have to like qualify everything they say about the people that are in their family, like, oh, that's my stepson, that's my adopted son, oh, that's not my, you know what I mean, they're gonna, why is your last name different, whatever, like all these kind of things,
right.
And so I think that even just having a word like that, Lovelogical, I think really will make, I mean, that makes a huge difference to people, to have that kind of in their brains, so that they can frame their relationship with their adoptive kids or their stepkids or whoever, just the kids, the people that they have in their lives that they love and they want to.
Yes.
To me, Lovelogical says I'm loving you above others' expectations. It really does, because I was saying today during the interview on the Bloomfield, cable station, that my mother had made the statement, nobody was stepping on anyone in our home, so there was no stepfather. And when you hear people, you got a big old smile on your face.
I like it. I just like it. Yeah. No one's stepping in our home.
Yeah, and then I saw a shirt on Facebook the other day where he said that I'm not a stepdad, I'm stepping up.
Wow.
And I like that because no one is stepping on anyone. And that's what differentiates a step parent from a Lovelogical parent. The only thing is when you put your children in a room with both parents, biological and Lovelogical, they have a tendency to feel almost required to say, my mom or my dad and my stepmom and my stepdad, even though at home, at the father and mother's house, they say mom and dad.
Right.
Yeah.
They may call, but when their biological parents there, they normally don't want to say that out of respect.
Right.
It's true.
And especially if you have any type of animosity or any type of tension, But to be able to say biological and Lovelogical, or mom and Lovelogical mom, you're giving credit to that person who has advanced above the step.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
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 You're giving credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like for kids living in adoptive or in foster families, I mean, it is. I didn't grow up in a foster family. I didn't grow up in an adoptive family. So you kind of, for me, right? And people that grow up in with the parents that kind of birthed them, right? Like, there's this assumption you don't really kind of have this idea of even questioning who mom is or who dad is. It's not a question. It's not something that is something you have to really think about. But for these adoptive kids, it can be a very, very big struggle for them to wrap their minds around the fact that there is someone else in their life that is caring for them. And they're lifelong. There can be lifelong problems, sort of wondering why, thinking maybe that they got cheated out of like a mom because it's not their real mom, So I think that, like with the Lovelogical, I just think that it's an idea that needs to kind of become more widespread, and that people need to be encountered, that people need to encounter more often so that they'll think of that. Because at another level, like, people can say kind of unintentionally hurtful things to kids that are not living with their biological parents. Like, wait, why aren't you writing a Father's Day gift? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So,
and my thing is, it's like parenting is just that, it's parenting. Whether you are parenting a child that you gave birth to or you're parenting, your Lovelogical child. I have 2 biological children, but I've parented many children.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Many
From
children.
my friends all the way up the line to my adopted sisters. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've witnessed it all.
Lovelogical. It's just, my kids have always, they know that I love them unconditionally. And they also know that I love my Lovelogical children unconditionally. I love my Lovelogical grandchildren. If it wasn't for my Lovelogical grandson, Joshua, asking me, Grandma, how are you my grandma if you're not my mother's mother? Lovelogical may not have come to me in the dream that it did that same night that he asked me. So things happen the same way with you. You were tutoring and a door opened up for you. I had a question asked of me, and I literally woke up the next morning and Lovelogical rolled off my tongue. I hurried up and grabbed my paper, wrote it down. I wrote it as 2 words. I didn't like it. I wrote it down as 1, and I said, this is what it is. So these are things that we call them chance happenings, but I truly believe that it's our fate.
Right.
It's what's intended for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is.
and like you were saying, we've had this discussion. Like you're a mom. Like you're just that's your personality type. You are a mom.
I am.
You
I'm
know,
nurturing.
100%.
You're nurturing. Yeah. So it's I think that when you bring that kind of energy to those relationships, like the Lovelogical energy, then there's no real sort of impetus to kind of qualify anything that you're saying, because the kids will know if you're bringing that loving parenting energy to them, then they're going to think of you as mom, and you're going to have that relationship. And with us, it's similar. We have not quite the same, right? But like there's similarities, because sometimes, right, when we're working with kids, it's not always about being, super nice and friendly all the time.
Right.
Sometimes kids need to have a little bit of a, kick in the pants to kind of get them, if they're really sort of not, to kind of make them aware of certain things, to get them kind of on the right path.
1 second, Andre. For those of you who are very sensitive in the world of 2018, he did not mean literally kick children in the pants. This has been a disclaimer by Michelle L. Anderson with Lovelogical. There you go.
I hope that the viewers would have enough trust in me that I wouldn't just
I know.
children during my tutoring sessions.
No,
I'm going to talk to him, HR.
no. People are learning that I am very silly.
Okay. Good. For the record, yes. Do not literally kick anybody in the pants. Yeah.
Oh my
But
goodness.
metaphorically, right? Sometimes you have to kind of be stern with them.
have to be more stern
Let's
with
say that.
You do.
Yes.
You have discipline.
And it's
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
actually we truly care.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
if we,
good.
If
And
we
as long
did
as
not
they know
care,
that, yeah.
and we tell them that we're like, listen, you're here for an hour.
Yeah.
We want you to succeed. We want to help you. I mean, you can waste your time, but you're just going to go back home and you're going to end up doing the homework by yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Instead,
Right.
you could be here and we could help you with it, so that when you go home, you can relax.
And that's
you know?
the push that kids need.
Exactly.
But they have to know that you care. Like that has to be there first. They have to know that everything that you're doing is being done genuinely because you're here to help them, and not because of your own ego, and not because of your own insecurities or hangups, right?
Right.
Yes.
And that's-
Right.
Yes.
And so, like if you were a lot of people maybe in these kind of, Lovelogical relationships, maybe in their mind there is a difference, and so they do sort of bring a different energy to their non-biological children, because they don't have the sort of Lovelogical mindset. They're not bringing that energy.
That heart
Yeah.
isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I love Lovelogical too, is because having conversations with people and hearing them talk about their stepchild or their future stepchild, and the way that they say it, I've kept quiet at times. People who know me know at times I've kept quiet. I pick my battles. But there are other times to where I'm like, why are you going to be with this person if you use that tone? Because if you're going to be in a relationship with someone with a child, if you can't love their child as if that child is your own, then you need to move on and let that person and that child
Yep.
be with someone else who's going to give them love equally.
Everybody listen now.
Everybody, yeah, because I'm a single mom. I'm a single mom. I'm very cautious when it comes to my daughter. Very cautious. She has not been around everyone who I've dated in the time that I've been divorced. There's no need. We introduce our kids way too early.
That's the truth.
Right, that's true.
Way too early. And then we question why these children have problems. Going back to Ally Learning, I am so proud of these men for doing what they do, because sometimes we don't realize the stressors that we put on our kids. And you see it as a reflection in their schoolwork. And by you helping them with their schoolwork, or not just helping them with their schoolwork, you're helping them deal with the stress and the issues that's causing the problems with their work. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud. And, what suggestions do you have for families coming together, be it those who have Lovelogically adopted their children, because if they're bringing their kids to you for tutoring, that tells me that they love their kids enough to make sure that they get the education that they need. So your families are Lovelogical families.
Yes,
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
They are.
Yeah.
Any parent that takes that extra step, that step comes, it may be made with the feet, but it comes from the heart. You know, it truly does.
Yeah.
So what tips would you actually give to parents who are taking their children to tutoring but may not have the same mentoring concept that you have, or would like to take the kids to tutoring, but either they don't have the financial means, or
Yes.
they may not have the transportation, or what? Give us some tips.
Sure. So before we get started, I just want to
Okay.
I'm going to put a little plug in
Oh, go ahead and
for
plug.
Ally Learning.
Go ahead and plug.
So at Ally Learning, I think we're proud to say that we're one of the most affordable tutoring companies in the Metro Detroit area.
Okay.
So one-to-one tutoring, which is one student with one tutor/mentor,
Which is all we offer.
Which is all we offer.
Okay.
For kindergarten all the way to 8th grade, it's $30 an hour. And
That's actually that's very good.
And high school is $35 an hour, and college is $45 an hour. So you won't be able to beat those prices.
No.
And then not only that, so there's lots of parents that say, okay, you know what, the pricing is good. However, you're in Livonia, you're an hour drive away. We can't come to you. Well, we've solved that. In the past year and a half, we started providing online tutoring.
Wow.
And the misconception with online tutoring is like, oh, well, you know what, it's different from one-on-one tutoring because, you know, the child won't see their tutor and, you know, they won't feel the same. But the thing is, we use an app, we use a program called Zoom, which I'm sure lots of people are
yes, I'm
familiar
familiar with Zoom.
But with Zoom, you can see the person. So the student can see,
face-to-face.
it's face-to-face, the student can see the tutor. There's also a writing ability. So a lot of times the parents will just email the tutor, or the students will email their tutor their homework assignment.
Okay.
The tutor will pull up the homework assignment on the laptop screen, and then they'll actually work on it together. So,
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could record these sessions. So if after the session's over, the students can replay it if they needed more help and needed to understand a concept all over again.
Do
So-
you hear that, Facebook?
so
I
that
like
is
that.
so that is another option for parents that aren't local, in the Metro Detroit area, or they're too far from Livonia. That's an option that we provide as well.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything else before I give some tips?
Just that, I know that people, like he said, people have kind of hang-ups about online tutoring because they get nervous. They think it's going to be like some kind of text-based thing where you're going to type in and you're going to get just some answer spat back out to you. That's not what it is. I mean, we've toyed around with like some different names for what to call it. I guess like virtual face-to-face tutoring is probably the most it's the most accurate way to explain what it is, because it's still face-to-face. You still have that same interaction. All the mentoring aspects we keep intact. I mean,
Okay.
there's really no reason why that should be any different online versus in person.
Okay.
In no way, I mean, is it meant to be, or is it a watered down version of what we offer? It's just our distance learning option. Yeah.
All right, so I did have 10 study tips, or just methods that parents can work with their children, in order for their child to be more successful and highly effective students. So the first one is you have to tell your child, to not cram all their studying into one session. The reason for that is because your brain can only handle so much, right?
Okay.
So especially when you're trying to cram, for example, I mean, I've done this. I think we're all guilty of it, and trying to cram for an exam the night before, and we're thinking that we're going to actually learn like 5 chapters in 4 hours. That doesn't happen, right? Because your brain can only take in so much, and then plus there's a lot of hormones that are going on. You're stressed, you're anxious, and whenever you have hormones like those kicking in, that's going to reduce your ability to focus as well. So what we recommend, and we tell all of our students, is that if you know there's an exam coming up, set aside an hour or even 30 minutes, a day to prepare for that exam, so that by the time you're getting like 2 days before the exam, you have actually covered all the material, and then you're just reviewing the material, and then you're actually going to do better on your exam or quiz or final exam, whatever's coming up.
Okay.
So that's the big thing: is don't cram. Tell your child not to cram. And plan beforehand.
Okay.
The second thing is plan when you're going to study. Right. So a lot of times, kids they come back from home, they're going to eat food, then they're going to want to play their video games or go play with their friends, and then they're coming home at like 9:00 at night and trying to do their homework. That's not effective because by that time you're tired. So kids are tired; they're not going to be able to concentrate. So what we recommend to all of our parents and to our students is set aside a time right after school. Maybe take a couple, half an hour break and an hour break. But the ideal time is between like 5 to 8 is when you want to be doing your homework assignments, right? And you should, and we tell parents that for middle schoolers and high schoolers, they only need about, like elementary and middle school only needs about like 30 to 45 minutes a day of homework, that they need time for that set aside. And then once you get to high school, you might need an hour to an hour and a half of time set aside for homework and studying. And if you're doing that on a daily basis, it won't be overwhelming for the child.
Okay. Now, in today's world, children have so many extracurricular activities outside of school. And I mean, it's starting like pre-kindergarten up through high school nowadays. I mean, kids are involved in so many programs. And what do you do?
So
What do you do?
one word: schedule. Schedule.
Yeah.
So we tell all of our children when they come in, we say, "So what's your schedule?" A lot of kids are like, "What do you mean?" All right, what do you mean a schedule? We just come home and we do our homework whenever we want. But that's the thing. If you have a schedule, you have a time set aside. You don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
And if you're able to schedule time to eat, time to sleep, time to do your extracurricular activities, you should also have time set aside for homework and studying.
Yeah.
Right. And even 30 minutes a day, is more than enough. Right.
It's more than
It's more than enough. So, parents shouldn't think that, my child's too busy, so they're not going to be able to do it. No, 30 minutes a day. Take that away from the TV or the gaming that they're doing or the outside activities that they're involved in. But because education is important, right? And in this day and age, having a bachelor's degree won't cut it anymore. Sometimes,
No, not in many jobs.
So if the child learns good studying methods when they're in middle school and high school, they'll be a lot more successful when they get to college.
Right.
Okay.
And that's time management skills as well. If I just jump in real quick, because what happens is that, things like social media, Facebook, right? Having your phone with you at all times, it basically takes this activity of social media and it basically sprinkles it as being constantly done throughout your day. So scheduling applies to that as well.
Okay.
You say, this is the time that I'm going to do social media, and then I'm going to be done with it.
Okay.
And for your fun stuff as well. Like, set a time to do your fun stuff after you've done your homework. And that way, you're not going to be tempted to sort of do the other thing, because once you have your mind regimented that, this is the time to do your homework, now that's over. Now it's time for me to do the fun thing that I wanted to do.
And two things that, a lot of our parents and a lot of our students don't think of when they're thinking of like how to be a successful student, is your sleep schedule as well as your eating schedule, right? Yeah. So, parents are busy, you understand that. So sometimes they'll just tell their child, sometimes kids will go to school without food, or they'll have cereal, right? And they think that cereal is a good breakfast. However, I tell, eating something is better than nothing, but having a hot breakfast.
Yes. Say it.
So having a hot breakfast is much better for the child, because whether that be grits or eggs, or toast.
You just said grits.
Oh, I love grits. I'm from the South, okay? So I love grits, right?
That was the last thing I expected to come out of his mouth.
You're not from the South. You're
grits.
born in Florida.
Florida's in South, right?
No,
so
the North.
Oh man. Okay. So but yeah, having a hot breakfast, what that does is that it kind of rejuvenates the child, and it starts the engines in the child's brain, and body, and the blood, right? Starts flowing a lot faster. So having a hot breakfast is going to be a lot more helpful for the child, because they'll be more attentive in the first hour class, right?
Okay.
And then sleeping. So children, until you're 18 years old. Actually, until you're 21, you should be getting at least 8 hours of sleep. Now, the reason I say that is because there's a chemical called melatonin, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens is when you're sleeping, like when it's dark, when it becomes nighttime, when it's dark, this melatonin basically gets released into your body, and it's the sleep chemical. And so I was like, okay, it's time to knock out, right? And a lot of times you'll hear kids, it's like, well, you know what, I'm laying in bed, but I can't fall asleep, right? And I'm like, okay, why is that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, are you on your phone? Yeah, I'm just checking my Instagram or Facebook, or I might have the TV on.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, the kids don't realize that the TV screens, TV, tablets, your cell phones, that pretends to be the sun, right? And if it's on, if it's activated, then the melatonin can't be released from your brain, and then you're going to be you'll be awake. So
Even if your eyes are closed.
Exactly. So we tell parents that like 30 minutes beforehand, before the child needs to sleep, before it's their bedtime, take away all electronics. You can give them a book. I've noticed whenever I have a book in bed, I actually pass out a lot faster. Yeah. I fall asleep a lot faster. So that's one of the biggest things. And on top of that, your brain takes information that you learn during the daytime from your short-term memory into your long-term memory when you're sleeping. Right?
Oh.
So if you're not getting at least 6 hours of sleep every night, you're actually, whatever you learn during the daytime, you're not going to remember it because you're not allowing your brain to take the information from the short-term memory into your long-term memory.
Okay.
So there's hope for me. I don't sleep. I'm one of those people that I was telling my son that a perfect schedule for me would be to work from 11 o'clock at night to about 6 o'clock in the morning, and then sleep from 6 to 12, and then the rest of my day would go well. Because
so you're
for
a night
some
owl.
reason, I'm a night owl.
Okay.
I
Every
haven't
night.
been to sleep since yesterday morning
Oh, wow.
because
Yeah.
I was up last night working.
Well,
But
so
I'm so
everyone's-
productive during that time.
So everyone is different, exactly. So
Yeah.
everyone needs to know when they are most productive. Like, for example,
So
Andre.
stop waking me up.
Andre, this guy, he wakes up at 4 a.m. All right,
Yeah.
he's crazy.
Because I thought for a while that I was also a night owl. Like all throughout college, I was like, oh well, like I can't fall asleep, so I just stay up late, and that's when I get all my work done. Come to find out, if I actually go to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and get up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, that works much, much better for me. So it's about, I guess it's really what we're saying is find out what the best sort of, schedule is for you and do it. And don't feel like, don't do things just because out of, let's say,
what the norm is.
laziness
Right.
or anything.
Right.
Yeah. Like don't just go to bed late because, you're just being thoughtless and you're not keeping track of your time.
I think he's talking about me. This morning we were supposed to go to the gym, and
being thoughtless.
I was too tired.
My bed spits me out if I get in before 11.
Well,
No, but for the what?
you also said, he said something that was really important. Nutrition is key.
Yes, it is.
Nutrition is key.
Yes, it is. However, parents, listen, our kids do need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. My son had a 8 o'clock bedtime and would remind me at 7:30 that it was getting close to his bedtime. So wherever we were, we had to leave and go home so that he could go to bed.
Yep.
And I know children today, they don't seem to have, well, many children, I don't want to put everyone in that same category. Many children today are up 9, 10 o'clock at night, doing nothing, running around the house. I've talked to people and they're 5-year-olds, they're 8-year-olds, they're 10-year-olds, they're up, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night,
Right.
So, and then we wonder why the children aren't doing well in school. I may stay up all night now, but when I was younger, they didn't play that in my house. My mother didn't play that.
Right.
I didn't play it in mine either.
Sure didn't.
And I just listen to parents about the sleep. That makes a difference. And I love the scheduling, making sure that you schedule everything, including your homework, including your social media time.
Yeah.
And now, teenagers, and social media
Oh yeah.
and homework.
I've learned so much about social media just because of our teenagers.
Yeah. Me too.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what's new? Something that's funny that's new is so a lot of the kids, like, they'll just have like their phone on or their social media on. Like the live sessions,
Facebook Live.
and stuff.
And they're doing nothing.
during the tutoring session.
I was just talking about this yesterday. Yeah, they'll just sit there like, and they'll be like no one even there, and they'll just be like, whatever, just doing their homework.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess for them, like that's a new. I mean, okay, right? Because I'm 26, right? So when I was in high
Oh
school,
my goodness, you're old.
I know, I feel the wrinkles. But when I was in high school, like, I was talking about stuff like MySpace, AIM,
Oh, yeah.
and
yeah.
parents were
I
like,
love those days.
Wow.
who even,
best.
and so now it's weird being in that position where it's like, Facebook Live, what is that? Like, it
But
is. It's
everything-
But
foreign.
it's a distraction.
Yes.
You know?
It is.
And the thing is, like, there's nothing wrong with social media. Like, it's great. But when you're studying, you need to put it aside.
Yes.
Because kids, it will just prolong the study session
Yeah.
then, right? Because you're not being
That's true.
effective and you're
Yeah.
not getting what you need to get done.
Lack
Yeah.
of focus.
Exactly, the lack of focus.
They
saw-
don't even talk to each other sometimes. It's just the fact that they're like just
Yeah.
hanging out
Oh, yeah, they
there
just
on the
need to,
telephone.
yeah, they just need to
Well, yeah.
No conversation. They're just looking at each other.
And your
do
brain,
nothing.
your brain needs time. Like your brain is not designed to be able to switch between tasks quickly like that. Like it takes your brain time to adjust from one task to another. So if you're like doing your homework, checking Facebook, doing your homework, checking Facebook, your mind cannot focus on the thing it needs to be focused on, and it can't focus on social media either. So that just doesn't work.
I love that.
That just doesn't
too.
work. So that's why it's so important that you must do just your homework while you're working on your homework. Do one thing.
And I know some of my students will use excuses like, well, I need some background noise, right? And that is true.
Yeah.
Some students do better with background noise. But background noise is not your phone or the TV.
Yeah.
Or if it is the TV, have it in a separate room. Or have some music playing in the background, because you don't want to take away the visual, from your homework assignment, right? So if you have the TV on or something that's playing, you're going to be looking at it constantly, right? Instead of focusing on the work. So it's okay to have the TV on if it helps you focus better. But you need to have it separately in a separate room and not where you're actually focusing and studying.
Okay.
Another big thing is that I think having the location of where you're studying is very important.
I
Big
was
time.
just thinking that.
A lot of parents ask me like, "Oh yeah, my child they can't focus." They're sitting at the dining table. I'm making my dinner, and they're not doing their work. And that's a problem, right? You have like things going on that's loud. The other kids are running around. The dogs are walking underneath the table. The child can't focus. There's too many distractions. So what we tell parents is that, if possible, it'd be great to take your child at least once or twice a week to the library to do work. If that's not an option, then make sure that you provide a space where it may be a bedroom, but it cannot be like in a space where
bed.
it can't be on the bed. It should be on a table of some sort, but a place where there's no other distraction, like no other kids around, no other animals or pets around, where they can focus on their homework assignment, right? So if it's a bedroom, that's fine. Let them work in the bedroom, and then let them come downstairs and play when they're done. But don't. I think that's a big thing that parents don't really think about and kids don't think about it either, because they're just like, well, I just want to be where the life of the party is, right? Everyone's downstairs. I want to be down there. Like, well, the thing is, you're not going to get your work done, right? So. Find a place in your house where you can focus, whether that be in the basement or your bedroom, or if it is the living room or dining room, that's fine, but just make sure it's a quiet space.
Okay, my Lovelogical daughter has 6. Hi, Tasha. Hi, Eddie. They have 6 children, ranging from 4 to 13. Where are they going to find the space for everyone to just have their individual study time?
That's a good point. So that's a good question. So sometimes what we tell parents who have bigger, larger number of children in the house, we say maybe you can set aside the study time at different intervals, so that you do have a space, like maybe it's a bedroom upstairs or your bedroom, where the one child can go or 2 children can go and do their work, and then once they leave, then the other kids can go there and do it as well. Or if you do want everyone to do work at the same time, this might be even better, because then everyone can sit at the dining table and do their work at the same time. But it's just making sure that there's not crosstalk, going on, and so they're not getting distracted in that manner.
Well,
Now, when you say, I'm sorry, go on, Delon.
with younger children, how can you focus the younger child to, like, let's say, sit in their space and write their letters and like with kindergartners and the first graders? How do you get them to just sit down and keep that focus?
Yeah, so that's do you want to answer that, or
You can go ahead.
okay? So basically, I think one of the best methods of getting a child, like a younger child, a kindergartner, or first grader, second grader, to focus on their work is sitting next to them, right? Because that kind of helps reinforce and tell them, okay, let's go back on track. Let's get back on track. The second thing is taking breaks. Right. So younger students, they can't focus for a longer time period. So even when parents come in and they're like, we want to sign up for tutoring, we say if the child from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade, we just say we're going to do a maximum of an hour, because it takes about 15 minutes for a child, any child, to get into study mode. And then about 45 minutes into the study mode, they start phasing out.
You've lost.
Right,
them.
you lost.
Okay.
They're not
Okay.
gonna take any more information.
Okay.
So after about 45 minutes, that's when you want to start give them a 5 or 10 minute break. So we let the kids that are at our center, they walk around, or we'll have like tablets where they can play like an educational game for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll get them back and focus on completing their assignment.
What I found that works quite well for kids that have trouble sort of sitting down for extended periods of time and focusing on something is that I use a lot of breathing and meditation techniques.
Okay.
Because taking the level of energy that they have and bringing it down is going to help a lot. So what I do is I have them put both hands on the table. I tell them take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. Now I want you to take all that chaotic energy, all of that confusion and chaos, and I want you to just move it out through your hands. And I have them just sit there with their eyes closed, and I just say, move that out through your hands. Now take another deep breath in, take another deep breath out. And then I say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to work on this thing, and, I set some parameter of when we're going to be done. But I don't want to talk until that's done. Okay?
Right.
And then I have them do it, and I give them the pencil, and they work on it. They're not allowed to talk, and they just focus on it. And then once they're done, then they can kind of move around a little bit, do whatever, and then we'll do it again as many times as we need to do it to get them through what they need to what they need to get completed. And that works. I found that works quite well, especially with kids that maybe have ADHD or attention deficit problems.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roger that.
I like that.
Me too.
I like it. This has been a great show tonight. Very, very informational. And I'm telling you, if you're looking for tutors in the metropolitan Detroit area, you have Ally Learning Center out of Livonia, Michigan, and they can help your children from kindergarten all the way through college. So you do SAT and ACT prep as well, correct?
We do.
That is true.
Okay.
Okay.
How much? When should students start the SAT prep with you?
Yeah, so I know the state of Michigan has they actually provide one SAT exam in school, in high school. You actually take it in 11th grade. So I believe it's going to be in March or April.
Okay.
So we actually tell parents after Christmas break, that's when their 11th grade student should start preparing for the SAT or ACT exam.
Okay.
One of the big things is a lot of parents don't know which exam their child should take, or a lot of kids, a lot of students themselves don't know which one they should take. So what I tell them is that, okay, the ACT has math, science, and reading.
Okay.
The SAT has math, reading, and writing.
Okay.
So if you're not good at science,
Yes.
then stick with the SAT.
Okay.
If you think that science and mathematics is your strong factor, then you want to prepare for the ACT. You can do both as well, but just those are the main differences. If you know that you're bad at science, then stick with the SAT. If you know you like sciences and mathematics, then you go ahead and take the ACT. But start preparing. After Christmas break, get one of the. There's a whole bunch of books out there. We prefer the Kaplan book.
Okay.
But there are a whole bunch out there. But basically, with the Kaplan book, it actually has all the subjects in there, has the study material in there, has some practice exams as well. And if you do need like some type of extra help, if you don't want to do it on your own, we provide one-on-one SAT and ACT tutoring at our center. It's $45 an hour.
Okay.
And what we do is we actually create a study plan for the child. So we say, okay, you're gonna do these many chapters by this time limit. And then we actually tell them when they're going to be taking their practice exams. And when they come to us, we actually we'll teach them the information, and then they do the work at home.
Okay. Just real quick before we wrap up here, how many hours a week of tutoring is the norm?
2 hours
Or does
a week.
it dep 2 hours
Yeah,
a week?
2 hours a week. So
Yeah.
we tell
Okay.
parents that they should do 1 hour each session, and like do like a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, if possible. That's
Yeah.
ideal. Otherwise, it all depends on what the student schedule is based upon their extracurricular activities.
Do you have Saturday hours?
We do now. So we now
Okay.
have from 10 to 1 p.m., 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays.
Okay.
Okay, that's very good.
All right, Metropolitan Detroit, you heard it here today, Ally Learning Center in Livonia. If you'd like to share your email information, your website information and your telephone, and if you can repeat it twice, please.
Yeah, so our website is myallylearning.com, which is myally learning learning.com. And our phone number is 248-957-0128. Once again, that's 248-957-0128.
I want to thank you two for coming this evening. I've truly enjoyed this conversation, and I'm telling you, you're not going to find tutors like this to where you're going to get the mentoring and everything. I love the fact that they are a Lovelogical business. We will be placing their link on our website, and next week I will be back here with you, and I'm going to have my Lovelogical children here next week, so you're going to get to meet the Lovelogical extension of me. And Delonde, would you like to say your good nights real quick?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really enjoyed having you guys
Thank you.
with us
Thank you
today.
so much for having us.
being
Yeah, very,
Thank you.
very much
Yeah.
appreciate the information, especially on nutrition and, just helping all the children that you guys do. We really appreciate you.
All right, so thank you very much. Have a good evening. And next week, all my co-hosts will be Janelle Anderson. My daughter is coming. So thank you very much. Have a good night. And lovelogical.com and info@lovelogical.com if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye-bye.